The Council's mistake. The Galactic Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a monument to 10,000 years of peace. Crystal spires stretched toward infinity, and holographic displays showed 1,000 worlds living in harmony. Today that harmony was about to shatter. Oryx Valoon adjusted his ceremonial robes and smiled. The Crithian diplomat had waited his entire career for this moment. Before him sat representatives from every major civilization, the wise elders of Zenthar, the militaristic Vorex Confederacy, the trading empire of the Solmari. And there, in the cheapest seats at the back, sat the human delegation. Honorable Council, Oryx began, his voice dripping with false respect. I come before you with concerns about the newest members of our assembly. The human ambassador, Chen Rodriguez, sat up straighter. She was a woman in her 50s, gray hair pulled back, wearing Earth's simple blue uniform. Next to her sat Marcus Webb, a former soldier with scars on his face and steel in his eyes. The humans, Oryx continued, waving dismissively toward them, claim to represent a unified planet, but our intelligence shows something different. They are divided. Hundreds of nations, thousands of languages. They fight among themselves constantly. Wars, poverty, chaos, murmurs spread through the chamber. The elders whispered to each other. The Vorex warriors clicked their mandibles in amusement. Oryx's smile widened. How can we trust a species that cannot even trust itself? I propose we revoke their membership until they prove themselves civilized. Ambassador Rodriguez stood slowly. With respect, Counselor Oryx, you don't understand. Don't understand? Oryx laughed, a sound like breaking glass. I understand perfectly. Your people are weak, disorganized. You barely managed to build one space station. You have no unified military, no real technology. You are children playing in a galaxy of giants. Oryx, she said quietly, you're making a mistake. The only mistake, he sneered, was allowing you into this council at all. He pressed a button on his console. Holographic images appeared. Human cities burning, human soldiers fighting each other, human politicians screaming on news broadcasts. This is what you bring to our peaceful galaxy. Division, violence, weakness. Marcus Webb leaned forward and whispered something to Rodriguez. She shook her head, but he whispered again, more urgently. Furthermore, Oryx announced, I have taken the liberty of sending diplomatic advisors to several human nations to help them understand their options. Some may find it beneficial to align with other galactic powers rather than this weak Earth government. That was it. The line had been crossed. Rodriguez's face went pale, then red. You did what? I helped your divided nations see the truth, Oryx said smugly, that they would be better off without this pretend unity. You tried to break us apart. Her voice was ice. You went behind our backs and tried to turn our nations against each other. I simply showed them reality. You declared war. Marcus Webb stood now too, his voice a growl. You just don't know it yet. The chamber erupted in confused chatter. The Vorex High Commander, a massive insectoid creature, clicked his mandibles in amusement. War? The humans cannot even organize a trade fleet. What war could they possibly— Shut up. Rodriguez wasn't looking at them anymore. She was speaking into her wrist communicator, her voice tight and controlled. Priority Alpha. Verify Oryx Valoon's diplomatic interference. If confirmed, activate Protocol Unity. Ambassador, please, the Elder of Zenthar said kindly. Let us not be hasty. Perhaps Counselor Oryx overstepped, but war is not— We didn't want this, Rodriguez said, and for the first time her voice cracked with emotion. We came here in peace. We wanted to learn, to join your galaxy as friends. We spent 50 years preparing for first contact, 50 years learning to work together, to put aside our differences. She turned to face Oryx directly. You thought our divisions made us weak. You thought because we argue, because we have different cultures and governments that we couldn't unite. You were wrong. Her wrist communicator blinked. She read the message and closed her eyes. Confirmed. Your agents contacted 17 human nations, offered them weapons, technology, and power in exchange for breaking from the Terran Alliance. Clever diplomacy, Oryx began. 12 of those nations reported your agents immediately. Rodriguez continued. The other 5 arrested them. Then all 17 nations voted unanimously to activate our defense protocols. Congratulations, counselor. You accomplished in one day what we couldn't do in 50 years. You made every human nation agree on something. Marcus Webb's wrist device blinked. He read it and smiled, a cold, dangerous smile. Terran Defense Network is online. All fleets accounted for. Weapons platforms active. Defense grid at 100%. Weapons platforms? The Vorex commander stood, his massive frame towering. You have no weapons platforms. Our scans showed what we wanted you to see, Webb said. Did you really think the species that invented nuclear weapons, stealth technology, and the internet couldn't hide a few military installations? Oryx laughed nervously. You're bluffing. You have nothing. We've monitored your planet for decades. Rodriguez's communicator blinked again. She held it up and a holographic display appeared. It showed Earth's solar system. And surrounding it, like a crown of stars, hundreds of lights appeared. Space stations, weapons platforms, ships emerging from asteroid bases and lunar docks. The chamber went silent. You wanted to see if we were civilized enough for your council, Rodriguez said softly. You wanted to test if we were united. Congratulations, you passed our test. Now we know exactly what your council is worth. She gathered her papers. Marcus Webb opened the door. Where are you going? The elder asked. Rodriguez paused. Home, to prepare. Because when you try to break humanity apart, we don't just resist. We remember. And we don't forgive easily. They walked out. The doors closed. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Oryx laughed weakly. They're bluffing. What can one primitive planet do against the entire galaxy? The elder of Xanthar, who had lived for 600 years and seen civilizations rise and fall, stared at the display showing Earth's awakened defenses. I think, he said quietly, we're about to find out. The awakening. The message reached every corner of the galaxy within an hour. The Galactic Council, through the actions of Councillor Oryx Valion of Krithia, has attempted to destabilize the sovereign government of Earth through covert political manipulation. This is considered an act of war under Terran law. All human forces are now at DEFCON 2. We will defend ourselves. We will not surrender. And we will not forget. It was signed simply, Terran Defense Command. On board the Vorex flagship Dominance, High Commander Zekthor read the message and laughed. His thorax shook with amusement. DEFCON 2? Defense Command? These apes spent 10,000 years killing each other with sticks and stones. They've had faster-than-light travel for barely 50 years. What do they think they can do? His tactical officer, a younger Vorex named Silkra, shifted nervously. Commander, the display, their defense grid, is a bluff, Zekthor snapped. Smoke and mirrors. They're trying to scare us. He leaned back in his command throne. Deploy reconnaissance drones. I want to see these hidden fleets for myself. Within an hour, 50 Vorex scout ships entered the Sol system. They never reported back. On Earth, in the underground command center beneath the Swiss Alps, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the displays with grim satisfaction. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at holographic stations, coordinating with military installations across 7 continents and 12 space stations. Vorex scouts neutralized, reported Commander Jackson. Point defense grid operating at 98% efficiency. Good. Chen turned to the communications officer. Send a follow-up message to the Council. Repeat our previous statement. Add that any military vessel entering Sol system will be considered hostile and will be destroyed. No warnings will be given. Admiral, Jackson said hesitantly. Is this wise? We're threatening the most powerful military in the galaxy. Chen looked at him. She was 60 years old, had served in 3 different navies, and had spent the last decade preparing for this exact moment. Commander, what's the first rule of Terran defense? Jackson recited from memory. Never let them see what you've really got until it's too late. And the second rule? When they finally see it, make sure they never forget. Chen nodded. The Vorex think they're the strongest military force in known space. They've fought wars against a dozen civilizations and won every time. You know why? Superior numbers and technology? Because everyone they've fought played by the same rules, Chen said. Honor, declared warfare, fleet-to-fleet combat, civilized battles. She smiled coldly. We're not civilized. Not the way they think. We've spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of killing each other. We know every dirty trick, every ambush, every way to turn a disadvantage into a weapon. She pulled up a display showing the Vorex Confederacy's territory. They want to test us? Fine, let's give them a lesson in human warfare. On Krithia, Counselor Oryx Valoon was starting to panic. His home planet was one of the wealthiest in the galaxy, a world of crystal cities and floating gardens. For centuries, Krithia had prospered through careful diplomacy and strategic manipulation. They'd toppled governments, redirected trade routes, and accumulated power without ever firing a shot. "Sir," his aide said nervously, "the Terran ambassador has sent a personal message. For you specifically." Oryx's hands trembled as he opened it. "Dear Counselor Valoon, you made a mistake. You thought we were weak because we argue. You thought we were disorganized because we have different governments. You thought we would turn on each other. You were wrong on all counts. Right now, every human on Earth, all 9 billion of us, knows your name. Every nation, every culture, every language. We all know what you tried to do, and we all agree on one thing. You need to learn a lesson. Our fleets are moving. Our weapons are ready, but we're not coming for you yet. First, we're going to show the galaxy what happens when you underestimate humanity. Then we're coming for you. Sleep well. Counselor, Ambassador Chen Rodriguez, on behalf of the United Nations of Earth, the African Federation, the Pan-American Alliance, the European Union, the Asian Coalition, and every other nation you tried to turn against each other." Oryx dropped the tablet. His hands were shaking. "Get me the Council," he said. "Get me the Vorax. Get me anyone. The humans are insane. They're actually going to fight." His aide looked at him with something like pity. "Sir, the Vorax High Commander has already deployed a full battle fleet to Sol system. 200 warships. They're going to crush the humans and make an example of them." "No." Oryx stood, knocking over his chair. "You don't understand. Call them back." "Call them all back. If the Vorax attack, if they actually start a war. Sir, they're the Vorax Confederacy. They've never lost a war. How could a species of divided primitive—" "Because they're not divided anymore," Oryx screamed. "Don't you see? That was my mistake. They were divided, yes. They were competitive. They argued. But that's what made them strong. That's how they evolved, through conflict and cooperation, through competition and alliance. They spent 10,000 years learning how to fight and work together, and I just made them do both at the same time." He pulled up news feeds from Earth. Every channel, every network, every social media platform showed the same thing. Humans rallying. National flags flying alongside the new Terran flag. Former enemies standing side by side. Military forces from 100 nations training together, integrating their systems, sharing technology. "My ancestors were diplomats," Oryx whispered. "We toppled empires through careful manipulation. It takes years, decades even, to turn a civilization against itself. I tried to do it to the humans in a single day." He laughed bitterly. "And instead of breaking them apart, I gave them a common enemy."
"I gave them a reason to unite. But they're primitive. They have nuclear weapons and they use them on themselves,"
Oryx shouted. "They have biological weapons, chemical weapons, weapons we've never even imagined. They've spent their entire history inventing new ways to kill. And now instead of fighting each other, they're all pointed at US." His communicator blinked. "A priority message from the Elder of Zenthar. Counselor Valoon, the Vorax fleet has engaged human forces at the edge of Sol system. Initial reports are concerning. Please report to the Council immediately. We need to discuss containment options." Containment, Oryx thought numbly. They were already talking about containment. Not victory, not conquest. Containment. He walked to the window and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Vorax were learning what he already knew. Humanity didn't need to be the strongest. They just needed to be angry enough. And he'd made them very, very angry. To be continued in parts 3 to 7.